What's up, y'all? It's GC Kinsey, here with a comparison of what my voice sounded like singing Strong Enough by Sheryl Crow before testosterone and after being on testosterone for 6 months. Sheryl Crow's music has been a major staple in my life since I was a kid growing up in the 90s, and this song in particular has taken on a lot of new shades of meaning for me over the years. Are you strong enough to be my man really is a question for the ages, isn't it? It's something I've wondered a lot about the men in my life. It's something I wondered about myself just before I was about to begin my medical transition. Am I strong enough to be my own non-binary man? And after realizing that being both transmasculine and romantically attracted to other dudes, rarely but still, made me gay, I loved how singing this from a masculine perspective made the song gay too. Back in 2014, 3 whole years before I would begin my social transition, I recorded a quick single-take cover of Strong Enough from the bedroom of my apartment while I was rehearsing for a local music festival. So, let's have a listen, shall we?
Gotta feel like hell tonight. Tears of rage I cannot fight. I'd be the last to help you understand. Are you strong enough to be my man? My man.
Right off the bat, I do want to point out the audio quality and how extremely far I have come since then. You can actually see, because this is video, not just audio, that I'm mic'd with a Rode NT1 condenser, which is the same mic I use now in the studio. But I had zero clue how to mic myself back then. If I were going to mic this now, I would have one mic on the vocals and one mic on the guitar, the same way I did for this Michael Jackson cover. But back then, I just had the one mic, positioned several feet away from me so you're getting all the room noise. And I also hadn't yet figured out the settings on the equipment that I use to plug the mic into my computer, so all the audio is coming out of the right speaker only instead of both. So yeah, the audio quality leaves a lot to be desired, and that's not even getting into the video quality. But quality isn't the point of this comparison, my voice changes, so let's talk about the vocal sound I have going on here. This was recorded at a time when I was really honing in my sound around a style that I love to write and play in, which I call folkgrass, and that's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, a fusion between folk and bluegrass, and you can hear elements of both of those in what I'm doing here. My resonance is really, really bright. I've covered bright versus dark resonance in another video if you're unfamiliar with those terms and the tonal quality or sound associated with both of them. But not only is there that brighter tone here, there's also almost a whiny sound, and I don't mean that with any sort of negative connotation. That's just very characteristic of what those of us in the bluegrass world like to call that high, lonesome sound. It's bright, it's brash, sometimes it can be pretty nasal, it's usually sung with minimal to no vibrato, and even though my vocal sound here may not check all those boxes because this is folkgrass, not pure bluegrass, you could definitely hear the bluegrass influence coming through loud and clear. This was sung in the same key as Sheryl Crow's original version, D, but I feel like the bright resonance almost makes you stop and go, wait, is it in a higher key? And that's really saying something because Sheryl's resonance on the original recording is pretty bright as well.
Gotta feel like hell tonight. Gotta feel like hell tonight.
Another thing that's fascinating about this cover in hindsight is that I feel like back then my voice was very much lacking in emotion compared to where it is now. I definitely caved into the pressure of perfectionism a lot when I was younger, and for a singer, that's actually not a good thing. Being perfect isn't what makes a singer good, being interesting is what makes a singer good. And at the time I recorded this, I was nowhere near interesting enough, so I'm really glad I've worked on that a lot in the years since then. Okay, now let's actually get into the comparison by listening to the same part of that song from the recording that I made at 6 months on T.
Gotta feel like hell tonight.
rage I cannot fight. I'd be the last to help you understand. Are you strong enough to be my man? My man. Whoa, really big difference there, huh? So first of all, there are a couple of things to note about the way these covers were recorded. The pre-T one is just me and a guitar, all in one take, with the terrible audio quality as I mentioned previously. Whereas the post-T one is a proper studio recording. I think I did maybe 4 to 6 takes on this one, so it's not live like the first version. I also used the original instrumental track for the post-T cover, which is something I've done for a lot of these voice recordings, by the way, because the point is just trying to get a snapshot of where my voice is at one point in time, so it's not really efficient to mess with making my own backing tracks most of the time. So, original instrumental track, but I pitched it down from the key of D to the key of C sharp, because that was more comfortable to sing in given the changes that were happening to my voice on T. Can I still sing it in D? Sure, I haven't lost those notes, but it feels better and I think sounds more masculine in C sharp. And this is only one semitone down from the original key, so it's not much lower at all, but that one semitone makes a world of difference. Now I want to get into some observations about the actual vocals. So first things first, voice changes from T are definitely apparent at this point. It was around the 5 to 6 month mark that I first started to hear what people call bass buzz in my voice. And if you're unfamiliar with this, think about how when you play music on a speaker and you turn the bass up, it vibrates a little bit. And if it's really loud, you might feel that vibration in your chest. It's like that, but with your voice. The technical term for this is vocal weight, which refers to the intensity of your voice, and it tends to take on more of that buzzy quality as your vocal cords thicken on T. So there's obviously more bass buzz here than there was in the pre-T recording. I also employed a couple of techniques here from the voice training I've been doing. Darker resonance to help me sound more masculine, and distortion, which is that gritty, scratchy quality of the voice. I didn't use distortion in the pre-T recording at all. That was sung with a completely clean sound. And this starts to get into not only a difference in sound, but a difference in style. Because a clean sound is more characteristic in bluegrass and folkgrass. That kind of music tends to be sung really smooth. But that gritty, distorted sound is more characteristic of rock, which gets all the way back to my original roots. When I was in middle school and high school, I was obsessed with rock music and wanted to be a rock singer, but I couldn't get anything to come out of my vocal cords other than that very pure, clean sound. And I didn't know that distortion was something that singers could learn how to do and do on purpose and turn on and off. I thought it was something that you were either just blessed with or you weren't. So I ended up saying to myself, well, the clean sound of your voice is better suited to musical theater than to rock, so may as well focus on that. Then after several years of doing musical theater, I said to myself, you can sing, but you sure as heck can't act to save your life, so you'd better find another vocal sound that's going to serve you even better. And I'd always enjoyed hearing bluegrass music in my family growing up, so I tried fusing bluegrass with folk and really fell in love with the resulting sound. And make no mistake, just because I can finally sing rock properly now, I absolutely have not given up on singing folkgrass, and I never will. It's still my go-to genre for writing my own songs and doing live shows. But it is incredible not only to be able to sing rock now, but also to sound like a dude singing rock, which was something I'd always wanted even long before my egg cracked and just couldn't explain why. Okay, let's listen to a little more of each of these songs for further comparison.
Nothing's true, nothing's right. So let me be alone tonight. 'Cause you can't change the way I am. Are you strong enough to be my man? Lie to me. I promise
Nothing's true and nothing's right, so let me be alone tonight. 'Cause you can't change the way I am. Are you strong enough to be my man? Lie to me, I promise I'll believe. Lie to me, but please don't leave. Don't leave. I'd forgotten that I played around with the melody a little bit here in the pre-T recording.
Nothing's true, nothing's right.
So that helps a little bit with that lack of interesting factor that I talked about earlier. The post-T recording does stick much more closely to the original melody, but I feel like overall it exudes much more powerful emotion because I wasn't worried about going for vocal perfection with my singing style. I was striving more for, how do I make my audience feel this? I also want to call out how much slower the pre-T recording is than the original song, and how that was absolutely a terrible habit I fell into all the time when I was younger. When I was trying so hard to make sure that everything was absolutely perfect, I would unconsciously slow a song down to make sure that I was hitting every little thing exactly right. So not only does that mean my vocals are nowhere near as interesting as they should be, but also when you slow a song down that much, it kind of drags. If I were going to do another single take live acoustic recording like this, I would definitely put it at the same speed as the original song, which I feel like works much better. On the other hand, if I were to do another studio recording of this song with the original instrumental track, I would go back in and add another line of vocals to get that cool harmony that Sheryl has here. I was trying to keep things as simple as possible by only having one vocal track in my cover. But that harmony really adds something to the song that, in hindsight, I feel like my cover is missing. One more thing I want to point out is the part where I go into my head voice on the notes for the line, "Please don't leave."
But please don't leave.
Back then, my head voice was like nails on a chalkboard to me, and I could not figure out why. I'd always hated it when I did musical theater and had no choice but to use it, and even after I had worked on it and adapted it for a folk grass style like I used here, I still couldn't stand the sound of it. Of course, I now know that was because of dysphoria, and being on T has allowed me to actually use my head voice without feeling like I want to peel my own skin off. But please don't leave. Much nicer sound, right? Okay, let's keep listening.
I have a face I cannot show. I make the rules up as I go. Just try and love me if you can. Are you strong enough to be my man? 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 Are you strong enough to be my man?
I have a face I cannot show. I make the rules up as I go. Just try and love me if you can. Are you strong enough to be my man? My man. Are you strong enough to be my man? Are you strong enough to be my man? Are you strong enough, my man? Something really interesting I noticed here was that I modified the melody the exact same way on both the pre-T and the post-T recording on the line, "Just try and love me if you can." Sheryl's original version is sung like this.
Just try and love me if you can.
Whereas I sang it like this.
Just try and love me if you can. Just try and love me if you can.
But what I think makes the post-T version so much more effective with that melody shift is the delivery. The way the distortion on the word if compresses and squeezes the voice on its way out of the highest pitch in that line. So that gives the impression of really begging, like, just try and love me if you can. Little touches like that are what make a vocal performance so much more interesting, and I'm really happy that the voice changes from T actually gave me the confidence to try something like that. Alright, let's finish out the song.
When I've shown you that I just don't care. When I'm throwing punches in the air. When I'm broken down and I can't stand. Would you be man enough to be my man? Lie to me. I promise I believe. Lie to me. But please don't leave. When I've shown you that I just don't care. When I'm throwing punches in the air. When I'm broken down and I can't stand. Would you be man enough to be my man? Lie to me. I promise I'll believe. Lie to me. But please don't leave.
Final observations. First of all, there are a lot more melody modifications on that last verse and chorus in the pre-T version than there are in the post-T version. And I think those actually work pretty well to bring the whole song together with that high lonesome sound. There was also a really fun little bluegrass touch. Did you catch it?
When I'm broken down and I can't stand.
Can't stand, not can't stand. I was using my southern accent throughout this whole cover, but that one line was really solid evidence of it. On the post-T recording, I just had the one melody modification which matches what I did on the pre-T recording on that same line.
When I'm broken down and I can't stand.
No can't though this time, just can't. I also made a point to give the closing note of the song, which is sung in head voice, a little bit of constriction or strain as I was letting go of it.
Don't leave.
I think that not only lends itself well to the overall rock sound, but also is a much more masculine way to deliver that closing note. It's just a tiny hint of that same compressed air sound quality I go for when I'm singing a really gritty rock and roll note, and I think applied to that closing head note, it really pays off. And that's where I want to wrap things up, so thank you so much for joining me on my first foray into vocal analysis. This was really fun, going back and comparing these two very different covers of the same song, sung at very different points in my life and with very different vocal sounds. If you'd like me to do more vocal analysis, or if you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to share those in the comments. If you'd like to reach out to me on other social media, I am GC Kinsey across all platforms. If you'd like to hear both of these recordings in full, I have links to them in the description. I've got playlists of all my pre-T and post-T voice recordings. I've got a whole project tracking the changes in my voice during my first year on T. I have cosplay music videos, makeup tutorials, vlogs about my experiences as a queer person, all kinds of cool stuff right here on this channel. So make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss anything new. And with that, thank you so much again for being here. I really appreciate you checking out these videos and giving me your support. I hope you had a great time, and I will see you on the next one.